Welcome to episode 37 of The Mobile Classroom, the weekly video podcast where we demonstrate today's most popular technologies. This week, our episode 37 is on Toodledo. This is a to-do list that you would keep in the cloud. So you could put everything that you need to do. You can put notes, you can add files, and have all of the things that you're trying to organize yourself with in one place and have it somewhere where you can access it through a browser, access it through your mobile telephone or your mobile device, through your iPad, or anything else. There are a lot of different ways to access this information and to keep yourself organized throughout the day. I've been using Toodledo for a number of weeks now, and I'm really finding new and different things to do with it, new ways to organize myself, because my to-do list is always with me. Whenever I have a thought now about anything that I want to do, I have a way to get that information stored so that I can access it later, organize it, categorize it, prioritize it. I can do a lot of ISs with it. I can really make sure that what I'm thinking about is captured and I can do something with that after I'm done. If you're someone who works with to-do lists, you're someone who organizes yourself, perhaps you are trying to optimize the things that you're doing day to day, whether it's something relating to business or something relating to your home, one of the things that you've probably seen is this concept of GTD. Comes up a lot, and Toodledo does have many different aspects of how you can take advantage of getting things done within this. Getting things done is a methodology, a way to organize yourself and to get things done that was created by a gentleman named David Allen. He has a book on getting things done. And it was this book that really had people stop and take a look at the way they were organizing themselves. These days, we have information from so many places. You don't just have an email. You don't just have a telephone. You don't just have Facebook or Twitter or these other resources available to you. They are all available. And if you're able to take advantage of all of them, you can do a lot more. The problem is that those pieces of information, whether it's a voicemail or an email or a conversation or a meeting or whatever it is, there are many different inputs there. You need some way to organize it all together. And that's just one aspect of how getting things done and that methodology can help you. The goal with Toodledo is just to be able to collect all of this information. That really is the first key. If you can get everything into one place, you can then start organizing it and creating more with it, get things done in a more organized way. There's also this concept of data coming from so many different sources. So wouldn't it be nice if we really could collect all of that data in one place and be able to act on every single piece of it? The Toodledo that we'll look at today from Toodledo.com really takes us a long way at being able to consolidate this information, get it into our to-do list in many different ways, automate the process, even have a way that you could take that entire Toodledo to-do list and put it onto a piece of paper that then folds up in your pocket, and you can have hundreds of your to-do lists every day that you just keep with you and walk around with you. So it allows you to work in different ways, even if you're disconnected from the internet. Let's have a look at how this could be used. We'll add some to-do lists, and we'll start working with some of these more advanced features. You can find a little bit more about Toodledo at Toodledo.com. You can see there is a nice overview on the Toodledo page about the things that you can do. First, it's all about organizing tasks. So things that you would normally associate with a to-do list, that is the main emphasis here of Toodledo. And you can use folders. You can have subtasks, which is something you don't often find on other to-do lists. I really like that. I can create a major task and have subtasks underneath it. And then the things you'd normally expect, priorities and tags, and set long-term goals, and even time estimates. There's some nice capabilities in Toodledo that we'll look at relating to time. And if you've got an hour sitting around, you're trying to figure out what can you accomplish in an hour, Toodledo can help you organize yourself so that you can focus on those things that can fit in that hour time frame. Another nice capability here is that it really does go anywhere. You can see that there are capabilities to put this on mobile devices, which is great because you can always have something available to write on. And something comes to mind, you're on a bus, you're on a plane, you're on a train, you're trying to figure out what is the next thing I should be doing. That's a great way to do it. And of course, it works in the browser, and that's primarily how we'll use it today. And I mentioned that foldable booklet that you can fit in your pocket. That's a nice capability too. One thing that I really take advantage of with Toodledo is the ability to collaborate. If you have someone else who's using Toodledo, or you would like someone else to be able to see your notes in your to-do list within Toodledo or parts of your to-do list, maybe a certain folder needs to be made available publicly or to certain people, you can do that so that they're able to see what you're working on. There's even ways, if they have a Toodledo account, you can have them also put put information into your to-do list. So it's not just a read only. If you pay them a little money for a subscription, $15 a year for the pro subscription, then you can also have the ability to have read-write capabilities to that to-do list. There is customization in here. We can really change the way it looks on the screen, which is something you usually don't get with a traditional to-do list. To-do lists have always been one single task and you can check it off. This really extends and expands on that idea quite a bit. If you already have other to-do lists in Outlook and iCal and other online to-do lists, you can also import them into this. So if you're using something today and you just like to upgrade and have more capabilities, this is a great way to do it. And this is kind of funny. The Toodledo people say this is Web 2.0 buzzword compliant. And although we hear that term Web 2.0, because they are using these capabilities and the more advanced functionalities within our browsers, we have a lot more capabilities when we're able to edit these lists. We don't have to pop around to other screens. We can do everything practically from one single screen in Toodledo. And so this really improves our ability and the usability of Toodledo. It's one of those situations where you're not fighting with the user interface, you're flowing through it, adding to it, removing it, you're on the phone, you're making notes, it all happens seamlessly. For the purposes of our demonstration today, I've created a new account. So this would be what you would see if you were going to get a brand new account, and you can do it. In fact, they say it only takes 31 seconds to sign up. All you really need to provide is your email address, a password, and you're in. So that's what I've done with my mobile classroom. I'm going to sign in. You can also use OpenID if you're someone who uses that ID that can be used across multiple websites. The OpenID API is part of Toodledo. Here is the primary screen of Toodledo. So if you use Toodledo on the web, this is the one that you're going to be in the most. Well, across the top, you'll see a number of tabs and different views available. I can view this by folder, by due date, by priority. I can also view the tasks that I have here. I can star certain tasks. I can click a button to do make that a complete task. I can change the actions associated with a particular task, and you can view these in different ways. Just show me everything I've modified in the last week. Quickly show me everything I've recently added in the last week. It's another way to do it. There are also some filters on the right side that allow you to view things in different ways. If you wanted really detailed views, show things that are recently completed, show tasks that are available in the future. If there are collaborators that you would like to add into this, someone else who has a Toodledo account, you can add a collaborator into this as well. There is not only the ability to do this for a specific person, you can see an individual user, but you can also do it for public sharing. Maybe there is a to-do list you would like to share with a group of people or with everybody in the world. All you need to do is provide them with this URL and it will enable that. Notice that it is not enabled by default, so you can't accidentally leak this information out into the world. That's pretty important if this is something that's private to you. Or you can take an individual list and share it. Maybe there is a folder that you've created that you would like to share with only certain people. Notice that's for the pro account only. You pay $15 a year and you'd have that capability turned on. That may be a good business decision for you. Let's go back to our to-do list, and right underneath all of those different settings are the lists of things themselves. These are listed currently as all tasks sorted by importance. You can see there is different importance levels that you can assign to different tasks, and Toodledo has added 2 tasks into this already. Notice we can visit our account settings sessions and configure our account. If I click on this, I can change the text here. I can change the folder that it's in. I can change when it's due. I can also change how often it repeats, what priority I want to assign to this. And lastly, I can add some notes into this. Notice how easy it is to do that in this interface. I mentioned that Web 2.0 capability. This is where you're really starting to see it, and it's almost invisible to us. This is the way that our clients on our Windows desktops we would expect to work. But in this case, it's now all seamlessly working inside of the browser. And when you're trying to do a lot of things at once, you don't want to be fighting with your to-do list. You want this to be part of what you're doing. And I really like that capability. Now, one of the things that I like to be able to do is show a lot of information on the screen at one time. I don't really like a summary view like this. And in fact, one of the tips it has here right at the top is, do you know that in account settings, you can change the way that tasks are displayed. You can choose from grid or multi-line. And you can see a number of these capabilities that are up here. One of these buttons up here is to switch to the multi-line format, and you can change the way that it views this on the screen. You can expand some of these things out so they look different. You can change the way exactly in the account settings view how you would like it to view. And it even shows you, do you want it multi-line? Do you want it grid? Do you want the note icon on the left or the right? You can change all of those things. This is also a place where you would modify a lot of the customizable features of this. How do you want it to be viewed? Do you want a toggle button for details? Would you like it to be a little bit different? Would you like to change when completed tasks are deleted or what keyboard shortcuts are available? When you start diving into the details of Toodledo, you'll really find that there is a lot of capabilities in here. It's a very rich environment to work in for a to-do list. Even if you just use the top 20% of capabilities, you'll find that it goes well beyond a lot of the other to-do lists. And then you start discovering new features and you start turning other things on and adding keyboard shortcuts. And it really does improve the organization and the coordination of all of these tasks that you have in your to-do list. At the top of every screen is the Add Task button. This is the one you'll be using quite a bit. So I've got a task in here that I've already started putting some information in. And this task I'm going to call my complete weekly the mobile classroom podcast. And I've got this set up to be, let's put this in our podcast folder, which is one that I created earlier. If I wanted to create a new folder, I can simply click new and it would ask me what the new folder is I'd like to put there. My due date is for tomorrow. That is the date on the Sunday. I always release my podcasts on a Sunday. It happens every week. And I can change this to be weekly or bi-weekly or monthly or quarterly or yearly. You've got some different options there as well. I want to repeat this from when? The completion date or the due date? And I want to do it from the due date in this particular case. And what's the priority for my podcast? It has a top priority. And I want to refer to my pre-production notes for the episode details. Every week before I start production on this, I create a spreadsheet. I create some notes of what I'd like to present, the information that I'd like to show, the topics that we'd like to go through so that I have a guide to go through when we're working on the podcast. And then I know once I start working on the actual taping of the podcast, the recording that I'm doing now, that I have something that I can sort through and list for what I'd like to do. Well, if that's my to-do, I can then click the Add button, and it's now going to move right here to the top because these are sorted by importance, and obviously my podcast is a top view. Notice it shows me all the details here. It shows me all the notes that I have in here. It shows me what I've got setting for that. I've got a lot of things that I can modify with this piece, and I can either close the dividers up, I can hide the details. I've got other things that I can do in this view to help me organize what I want to do. So I want to start at the top and work my way down if I want to work by priority. And you can also assign other capabilities to this. Maybe I would like to add other functionality within here. What if I would like to put in here what context this is, perhaps the length, how long does this take? What is the current status of this? And let's save our changes there. And now let's go back to our to-do list and see what that looks like. Now I've got some more information on the screen. It takes a little bit longer than 5 minutes to complete a mobile classroom podcast. So let's add into my importance level here. I've got these sorted by importance and not priority. So our mobile classroom podcast, we know is something that generally takes 4 hours to complete once we start working on it. So that's a good number. Now I'm able to start organizing this and I can sort by how much time does it take? What is the priority for these? What are the things that I've recently added? Maybe we put the recently added things at the top. And I can list through this and say, I've got 10 minutes, I've got 15 minutes, I've got an hour. What can I work on right now? And you can see exactly how long you're estimating these particular tasks are going to take. Another way to do that, by the way, is in the scheduler. You've got some capabilities where you would like to analyze all the to-do dates, the priorities, time estimates, other characteristics, and you could say, I've got a certain amount of time available. Tell me what tasks I can work on right now and get completed in that amount of time. Really nice functionality. It's something that is only available for the pro users though. So you have to subscribe and provide a few dollars to the Toodledo people, and they'll give you some of these scheduling capabilities. So if you really want some guidance on exactly what you should be working on based on importance, based on priority, based on how much time you have available, that's a great way to do it. I mentioned earlier that the information we use to organize our day, to coordinate our tasks, to figure out what we want to do come from many different places. It might be a voicemail or an email or something we think about when we're walking around down the street. And one of the ways that you can take advantage of that is on this link here for tools and services. And you can see here that there is connections that you can make from your iPhone, your iPod Touch, or your iPad. There's an email import and export capability. Notice that you can just send emails with attachments right into Toodledo, and it'll make a to-do list, something that's in your list to do based on that email. You can also have email reports sent to you so that every day you've got an email that says, here's the task that you need to complete today. There's a nice add-on for Firefox that puts it right in your top toolbar, so you can click a button and very quickly add a to-do right into that view. Of course, you can also integrate this with Twitter, just like the rest of the things in the world. And there's other pieces too. If you're using iGoogle as your start page, or Gmail, or your Google Calendar, you can integrate your to-do list with that so that it just pops up on your calendar, all the to-do lists with the completion dates that you would like to use. You can also use different phones, not just the Apple branded phones, but other phones have capabilities in here. iCal reminders, so you can grab an SMS message, you can get a pop-up on your screen to let you know some of the things you'd like to do. If you're someone who already has a lot of information somewhere else that you need to import or export, a lot of functionality for that. You may have a spreadsheet, you may have another to-do list, you may have something that is in a database that you just would like to export and move into Toodledo. That's one way to do it. And you can see there's other smaller, less used capabilities here, but still pretty important. If you're someone who uses a lot of RSS or an Apple dashboard widget or modules from something called Page Flakes, these are some plugins, some connections that have been made to get the information to and from. So those particular capabilities, those particular applications, really nice that you've got a lot of different functions here. Being able to move information into your to-do list and out of your to-do list means you're not locked in. And it's not just an island of information that you're creating out on the internet. It's something that you know at any time you could put a bulk of information into, or take everything that's in your Toodledo and pull it right out and put it somewhere else. Nice to know that you're not locked into that. It's nothing proprietary, very open. It's another thing that I really like about using this particular service on the web. Let's go through our to-do list and see if we can modify and update some of the things that we have here. This top importance one that was added by Toodledo when we made our account was to visit our account setting sessions and configure our account. Well, we recently went through all of these different account settings and some of the things we can do. You can certainly go through other pieces of this and change the way that it modifies and looks at information. We made a few changes ourselves, so I feel like that one's done. And if that one is finished, we simply need to click the button there and it grays itself out. It becomes now a task that is completed, and now we can go to the next thing. Well, I know that my Complete the Weekly The Mobile Classroom podcast, pretty important to me. And so maybe I'd like to star this, because later on I'd like to do a list of all of the things that I've starred. They have an extra level of interest for me. And then add some items to my to-do list. We've already added our Mobile Classroom podcast. Maybe we'd like to complete that one as well. So now I'm looking at only one task that I have in here. But one of the things I mentioned for my Mobile Classroom podcast is there's other things that I need to do with this, other capabilities that are really important for handling these tasks. Let's add some additional things that are associated with this particular task. If we had a Toodledo Pro account, we'd be able to create subtasks under this task. But since I don't, let's see if we can work around that a little bit. I'm going to add a new task that says the mobile classroom, let's call this the recording session. This is one that usually takes about an hour. I'm going to put this in my podcast folder. We're going to use this as a due date. This really needs to be done on the 10th so we can get the post-production done. This usually takes 1 hour, and this has a top priority as well. Let's add that into our mix. And let's also create another one for post-production. Let's add this, and this is the Mobile Classroom post-production, our video editing and the things that we need to do. That's in our podcast folder. That one needs to be done by the 11th. Ideally, I like to have it done the night before, though. So maybe we'll make it the 10th so I can have it render overnight. This usually only takes about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how long the podcast is. And that, again, has we'll say that has a high priority. And I added the status column here because this one is the next action needs to be taken on that one. Or maybe I'd like to call this one that we're waiting. We have to get our recording done first. So now I can add other pieces to this, and I can start using them as separate tasks in here, and then I can start checking them off and knowing exactly the tasks they're going to do. If you have the Pro account, it's even nicer. You create a single task, and then you have subtasks underneath it. They simply are nested tasks that make up the whole. It really is pretty inexpensive. It's only $15 to upgrade to this. I don't get any additional money from doing this. This is something that I've done just because it has capabilities that I do, and it's just something I think that might be useful for you if you find those capabilities available for you as well. There's also the capability in here, as I mentioned, to look and add a booklet of these things. So if you've collected 100 tasks in here and you would like to take those 110 tasks along with you, you click a button and you print out this booklet. It's a PDF file format that you can then print out. You make one cut in it, and this one piece of paper folds up to look like one little notebook, a little tiny book that you can then take along with you. So if you're someone who isn't directly connected to the internet all day, you don't really have something on your mobile phone that allows you to access this data. Maybe you're somewhere where you don't have internet access. Now it's completely offline. Now it's a customized booklet that allows you to do that. This booklet section, some of the things you can do, you'll notice, require that you have some functionality, some additional customization of a booklet is with the Pro. But if you have just a normal account, you can, of course, do the regular booklet just based into this. If you are able to build out that booklet, it's going to put all your tasks together. In my case, I've only got 2 or 3 in my list, and create that PDF file. And from there, you can print it out and do whatever you'd like with it. Once you download the PDF, this is what it looks like. You can see all of the different to-dos that we have, our hot list, notes that we might have added into these particular tasks, our Toodledo account, the tasks that we have here, the priorities, what the different stars are, if it's starred or not. Some really nice functionality there, and you've got all the directions and things so that it tells you exactly how to put it together, how to make it work. Here's kind of the 3s, the 2s. It's even got it in order, and you can see exactly what you need to do to get this accomplished. So great way to take it with you. I think that's a nice functionality that takes the idea of the technology right out of it. You put it in your back pocket and take it anywhere. If you notice on that booklet, there was an option there for notes. You can take just generalized notes that may not specifically be assigned to any particular to-do, and even keep those in here as well. If you have things that you would just like to jot down, maybe you're on a phone call, they're not associated with a particular task, this is a great way to do it. And you can organize it by folder as well. So I can put a bunch of notes in here just for the podcast. Maybe this is where I would like to keep my notes on ideas I get throughout the week. I'll be working on something, or someone will ask me a question about technology, and I'll think that's a great idea for a podcast. Let me add a note right now into my podcast folder, and then I can take this around with me. This is also a great way to put files and information in here. You have, for the Pro subscribers, you have 5 gig of space that you can take any file and just upload it and keep it here. So if you want to associate a agenda with a particular to-do item, or some particular notes, or a manual, or some other documents, great way to do it. Take some pictures and say these pictures are associated with this to-do list. And it's a nice functionality if you have upgraded to the Pro subscription of Toodledo. Here's a nice capability that I have not seen in a to-do list before, but it's something that in the more advanced to-do lists they have available, which are these very high-level goals. Maybe we have an objective and a goal that's going to take a longer amount of time, maybe a short amount of time. Maybe it's something that's a lifelong goal. And what you would like to do is have the tasks in your to-do list make up what you're working towards as a much larger goal. And you can add this. This is sort of the idea of taking a very broad to-do and having individual to-do lists in your Toodledo that make up that overall goal. You can add in a lifelong goal, a short-term or a long-term goal right here, and have this be to do whatever you would like, to lose weight, to remove debt. You would like to be able to save for a new car, or to buy a house, something very big. Maybe it's something even smaller than that. Maybe you would just like to be able to clean your office. There's one I should probably put in my short-term list. And you can have to-dos associated with that. Call someone to pick up my old electronics, throw out some of the old books that I have, buy some new furniture so I can organize my office better, make sure I've got more more lighting that I have for my accounts. Those types of things you can add and put together. If you have the pro account, you can take those individual tasks and roll them up into these longer term goals. So that's something you can do with the free account, although you can certainly add the long-term and short-term goals and lifelong goals into this. You just can't associate those tasks into it. So it's nice to be able to have that capability and see the progress as you're making more and more changes and adding more and completing more tasks, and how it is associated to a much broader view of what you're trying to accomplish. If you're someone who really likes to have quantitative data on how things are going with your tasks, what you're completing, what needs to be done, and you've upgraded to the Toodledo Pro functionality, you have the statistics that are built into your account. These are samples that are here because this is not a pro account, but you can see all of the tasks that have been added, completed, and due, all sorted out by day or by month. You can have different functionality there, different folders, the size of your folders, the different tasks that you have associated with those, the distribution of those distributed by priority, length, and status. So you can get a feel for, am I really working and completing the high priority items? Should I be completing more high priority, lower priority items? You get to see that in more of a broader view, something that isn't really easy to pick out in that text-based list of our to-do list, but is really nice when you roll it up and get some statistical feedback about exactly what you're doing, what's being accomplished, and maybe pointing out places where you could even do better. One of the things I really like about Toodledo is that it is well supported not only by the folks at toodledo.com, but also from the user community. And if you click the forums, you can see here there are different areas that you can communicate news, questions, tips and tricks, time management, getting things done, off topic. But look at the number of posts that are available and the different topics inside of those. So just simple questions you might have, you can pop it in there and see exactly who's communicating, what questions they might have about how to make those things happen. And you can look at all the different posts here. Notice the posts that are 5 hours and older, almost all of them have at least one reply associated with them. So it is the participation here is really great. I'm able to now communicate with other people, understand how they're using this to get things done, take advantage. If I click the forums, and let's go to that getting things done, how are people making their life more organized? How are they able to use Toodledo to really get things accomplished? And this is a great way. You can even see there's some people that have a certain setups or other things that they've done that get things accomplished in their daily tasks and things that they're trying to do in their life. So not just a static to-do list, but also a way that you can learn how to organize yourself better, get things done, and be more efficient and effective with whatever you'd like to do. We've learned a lot about Toodledo on how it's now more than just a to-do list. We could really take advantage of this functionality to improve the way we're organizing our life and making sure that nothing slips through the cracks. We're able to really get the high priority things accomplished and make sure that we're doing a better job at getting things done. If you'd like to follow us with the Mobile Classroom, you can go to our website at themobileclassroom.com, where we have links to Facebook and to our Twitter account at twitter.com/mobileclassroom. I always announce when a new episode is available. That may be a good way to follow us. You can, of course, subscribe to our podcast there as well in iTunes or Miro or whatever you'd like to use to follow us. You can also send me an email directly at james@themobileclassroom. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll see you next time on the Mobile Classroom.